Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to Friday's edition of the show live here on Joy Sport and Multi TV. My name is Kwame, and coming up on the show this morning is the silly season around the world, and of course our Ghanaian players are also caught up in the mix. We'll keep you up to speed with the latest news concerning Ghanaian players moving from one club to the other. Are they going to be staying with their clubs, or are they going to be making the transition from one club to the other? We'll keep you up to speed with that, and of course all of the news making the rounds on the local scene. Accra Hearts of Oak, they have been in action in the last 48 hours. They were up against Mamelodi Sundowns, who are in the country on pre-season. We'll keep you up to speed with the highlights of the friendly international played between the two games, and of course the press conference. And away from football, some of our associations are struggling to raise the necessary funds to compete in international events. But the Minister of Youth and Sport, Elvis Afriyankra, is assuring the Ghana hockey fraternity that funds are going to be made available for the team to travel to Germany to compete. The Swimming Association also need some money to make their way to compete. And again, we'll be looking at that issue as well. We'll be bringing you some news from the African continent. And the biggest news, of course, to do with Papi Cisse. He is refusing to wear the club logo on his Newcastle shirt, and maybe, just maybe, that might lead to him moving on from Newcastle United to a new club. And of course, we'll move on to the world of international sport, where we'll bring you sports items on various sporting disciplines. All those and more coming up after this break. We're back from the break, and as usual, we begin with the news from the sporting tabloids. This morning, I have the graphic sports of 90 minutes, the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express, and the Hearts News. Well, at this point, we crave your indulgence to look at the stories making the rounds in the tabloids. On the front page of the graphic sports, well, it's all about the satellites. They made us proud in Turkey. They came up third, and we understand there's a scramble for these players who made us proud. Moses Oje, Joseph Atama, Lawe are all in there. Are they going to be making the transition from the local clubs? Oje and Atama play for Tema Youth. Ebenezer Sifwa, the top scorer of the tournament, playing with Liberty Professionals. Are they going to be with the clubs next season? Time, they say, will tell. And Wayne Rooney is also on the front page of the paper. We understand that the Blues made an official bid for the Man United player. Man United rebuffing that a bit. And the Minister of Youth and Sports, Elvis Afriyankra, is also on the front page of the paper. And we are looking at money and sports. It looks like aside football, all the other associations struggle when it comes to money. We'll be profiling Steven Pienaar, the South African international who plays his football in England, on the lifestyle page of the newspaper. Okay, so away from the front page of the paper, as usual, we'll bring you those pictures from the lifestyle page, page 5 of the newspaper. And who are we looking at today? That man, Steven Pienaar, played for the Bafana for many years, and is seen here supporting one charity cause or the other. And of course, with his family, his wife is in there as well, and his son, of course. And these footballers spend a fortune on a car, so you're going to be seeing his car pretty shortly. He drives an Aston Martin car. Very expensive car, I am told. Someday I may be able to afford that particular car. So there you see the Aston Martin on your screen. Steven Pienaar seen in here with his wife shopping in Liverpool. We move away from the lifestyle page and move on to the center spread of the newspaper, and it's pre-season time. So the clubs involved in one charity game or the other, one friendly game or the other, and almost all the clubs are in action. Chelsea are there, Arsenal are there, Juventus are there. Everyone is on some kind of a pre-season, and we bring you pictures from matches being played by these clubs. If you want to see a lot more of this, well, grab a copy of the graphic sports and get to see a lot more of these pictures. Okay, we move on and to the back page of the Graphic Sports newspaper, and there's a very worrying one. No money for sports. It's amazing how we seem to find the money anytime it comes to football issues and how we struggle to find the money when it comes to other sporting disciplines. No money for sport, and the full story there by Beatrice Lai. Grab a copy of the Graphic Sports and get to read extensively on the story. And of course, that's by Andy Kwao, who is back from Turkey. Scramble for satellites. Who is going to be making the move? Almost all the players are being linked to one club or the other. Will they stay with their clubs or will they move on? And the Ghana Hockey Association is also in the news. There's a beautiful picture here with the Minister of Youth and Sports when he visited the team who were preparing to and playing for Germany to play in an international tournament. And he's assuring these players, the funds are going to be made available to them. We'll be bringing you those pictures pretty shortly. So you grab a copy of the Graphic Sports and get to read a lot more on these stories. Away from the Graphic Sports, we'll look at the 90 minutes. And you bet the 90 minutes have those pictures, as usual, of our players who are making it big on the international stage. And your football wag caught with 60 cigarettes. Is she smoking all that into her lungs? Well, that's the life of some of these ladies. They spend, and spend. Michael Essien working like an animal for Mourinho. Well, he's played with the boss previously at Chelsea. He followed him to Real Madrid, and now they're back at Chelsea. Wayne Rooney, where is he going to be playing next season? Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea. All these clubs are said to be in for the services of this man. Leo Messi not afraid of Neymar's arrival. Neymar in scintillating form at the Confederations Cup where he emerged as the best player. And who is that man and the spectacled Samuel Nkum with his wife? And what's the story about them? Well, we'll be bringing you that shortly. And fight for Rooney, 10 ugly. £80 million, Roo. Is he worth that much? Phil Walcott and Kevin Prince Boateng also on the front page of the 90-minute sports paper. Let's move on from the front page of the 90 minutes. Well, it's all about transfers, players being linked from one club to the other. You only have to get a copy of the 90 minutes to get to see a lot more of this. And I told you we're going to be bringing you that story on Samuel Nkum. Well, the 90 minutes have dedicated their center spread to the Black Stars' right full back. Nkum seen here with his wife. It looks like he has a latest addition to his family. A newborn baby has just joined, so that makes it number 3, I think, for Samuel Nkum. Congratulations to the player for adding yet another member to his family. We wish him well. Well, he's making a lot of money, so I'm sure he can afford to give the very best to the children. On the back page of the 90 minutes, well, is he a boxer or is he a footballer? He's a skipper of the senior national team, the Black Stars. We understand he's just released a new song and he's also a boxing promoter. All in one. Yao Asamoah, the skipper of the senior national team, the Black Stars. Grab a copy of the 90 minutes and get to read a lot more on these stories. We'll do some club business now and look at the two leading clubs here in Ghana, Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. We begin with the Kotoko Express. And on the front page of the paper, you have no mass sale of players. The last time I checked, practically all the players in the Kotoko team were available. As far as our transfers were concerned, our players being linked to clubs all over the world. Are these players going to be moving on in season 2013, season 2014? We understand Michael Okufu, Kwabena Edusei, as many of these players are being linked to clubs in South Africa, in Europe. Are they going to stay? Yahya Mohammed returns to Kotoko. He's been with Medaris Professionals over the last season, and we understand he's going to be making his way back to Kotoko. And Mamelodi Sundowns, who are here on the pre-season, are going to be taking on Kumasi Asante Kotoko. on Sunday. And I'm sure here on Sports Today on Monday, we'll be keeping you up to speed with all the latest from that particular friendly international. Okay, so away from the front page of the Kotoko Express, we move to the center spread of the paper. Now, the center spread of the paper has Kotoko being crowned champions of the Glow Premier League. That's some lovely picture there. Unfortunately, the club failing to do the double, losing out to Mediama Sporting Club over the weekend by a lone goal. But Coach Didi Dramani is going to be happy that in his first season with the club, the team managed to win the Glow Premier League. I'm sure they would have loved to do a double. So that's it for the center spread of the graphic sports. of the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express. Make your way to the newsstands and grab a copy, and I'm sure you'd love what you see. And of course, Kotoko planning for season 2013, season 2014 already as they unveil plans for next season. I understand that they have already gotten some players on their books, and they are looking at promoting some players from the under-20 team to the main team. If you want to know a lot more on this, well, make your way to the newsstands, get a copy of the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express, and get to read a lot more on this. Finally, we look at the Hearts news, and the Hearts news as money, no be problem for recruitment. Well, that's a very, very big statement of intent by the Phobian fraternity. They are saying that when it comes to money, it is not a problem at all. They have the funds available to secure the very best players that they would need for season 2013 and season 2014. So if you're a fan of the Phobians and you are worried about where money is going to be coming from as far as the league is concerned, they are telling you, don't worry, my brother. Don't worry, the Phobian family, money, no be problem. So that's it on the front page of the Hearts news. And Neil Armstrong Motabui, who has just been made the MD of the club, saying that season 2013, season 2014 is going to be big for the club. The back page of the Hearts news has pictures of that friendly international between Accra Hearts of Oak and Mamelodi Sundowns played at the Accra Sports Stadium on Wednesday. We're there. We'll be bringing you highlights of that game pretty shortly. The Phobians looking very, very lethargic in the course of the game, but getting an equalizer right at the death, courtesy that goal by Romeo Agban to stem that tide. At least they didn't lose. Those are pictures from that game. So that's it for the Hearts news. Make your way to the newsstands and grab a copy of these papers and get to read a lot more on the stories in there. We brought to you stories from the Graphic Sports, the 90 Minutes, the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express, and of course, the Hearts news. Let's go into our stories. The main stories, of course, quite a number of them. And like I said at the beginning, is the silly season around the world. The players being linked from one club to the other, and Ghanaian players, obviously not an exception as far as these movements are concerned. And we couldn't have started on a better note than one player who had a phenomenal CAN 2013, scoring as many goals from a midfield position. And it's no other person than Mubarak Wakasu. He plays for Espanyol in the Spanish La Liga. Well, we understand that the player might just be moving to Swansea in England. Quite a number of players making their way from La Liga to Swansea. Michael Laudrup playing for Football Club Barcelona and, of course, for Real Madrid in his career. And he has so many players who have played in the Spanish La Liga moving to the club last season. Michu, Pablo Hernandez, you could name them, Jonathan de Guzman, all these players moving to Swansea and helping them to the Carling Cup last season. Mubarak Wakasu, we are told, is going to be the latest to join the club for up to £3.9 million. And the question I'm asking myself is that, is he not worth more than that? Maybe the clubs are just bargaining well and have been able to get him for that little figure. if you ask me. From one Black Stars player to the other, and you'd have thought that for someone playing in, the Arabian football or playing outside Europe, that player would love to make the movement to Europe someday. Now, there's one player who used to be playing in Europe. He played in France for Stade Rennais. He played in Italy for Udinese and Modena. He played in England for Sunderland. I'm sure you know who we're talking about. Yao Asamoah Gyan is the skipper of the senior national team. Now, he's saying that he has no regrets leaving English Premiership for the UAE. Well, he's on $200,000 a week, tax-free. Well, in the Arab region, they don't pay tax. So every amount of money that he's paid ends up in his account. He's already won the league with them. He's been paid some very good money. He's emerged as the top goal scorer. And he's happy with his time in the UAE. And he says he has no regrets for moving from the English Premier League to Abu Dhabi, where he plays for Al Ain. We still stay with our players who have had something to do with the national team. And this time around, we're looking at Anthony Annan. Well, he's had a pretty rough ride in recent times. He was a mainstay at Stabæk and Rosenborg in Norway. He moved on to Schalke. Things have not really worked out. He's moved on to the Spanish La Liga. Things have not really worked out. He made his way to Holland to play for Vitesse Arnhem. Things have not really worked out. He's gone back to his club, Schalke, who paid up to €5 million for his services when he moved from Norway. But the German club are insisting that there are no offers pending for the Ghanaian international midfielder Anthony Annan. These players would love to go to clubs where they would get a lot more playing time. He's not getting the playing time that he wants at Schalke. And unfortunately, as we speak, the clubs that are courting other players around the world don't seem to be interested in the player at this point. So many injuries as well, also blighting his career over the last couple of months. And maybe, just maybe, he needs to go to a club where he can get a lot more playing time and, of course, get the attention of the national selectors. And maybe that could also put him in very good stead to get a club pretty shortly. Again, from one Black Star player to the other, and Cristiano Chui had a very good season with FC Porto, helped them to win the Portuguese league. Unfortunately, things don't really seem to be going very well as far as his transfer is concerned. He was being linked to Everton, Tottenham before the close of the season. As we speak, Porto have banned him from training with the team. Most of these clubs on pre-season as we speak. Well, these clubs have to the 31st of August to sort out their transfers. It's still early days yet in the transfer window. Up to 40-plus days still to go. And the young man might just make that dream move that he has been looking forward to for many, many, many years. Who wouldn't love to play in the English Premiership and get that level of recognition? Rabiu Mohamed and Jonathan Mensah, who play for Evian Thonon Gaillard in France, are also in the news. They have joined up with their team for pre-season. These boys, played very, very well for Evian last season, and they would want to do a lot more than they did. But of course, in France these days, it's the big spenders, Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco. They are buying players for fun. PSG signing up Lucas Digne over the last 24 hours, and we are told that another player, Marquinhos, from Roma, is going to be joining them for up to 35 million euros. Monaco also buying players for fun. Every player seems to be going to the French League these days. Radamel Falcao has joined. Joao Moutinho has joined the team as well. Eric Abidal has joined the team. Top players making their way to either Paris or Monaco. And you're playing for Monaco, you didn't get to pay taxes on your salary. And those are the lads, Jonathan Mensah and Rabiu Mohamed, who play for Evian Thonon Gaillard. They were involved in a friendly with Bordeaux on Wednesday. Good to see our Ghanaian boys in action as they prepare for the new season. And we're still staying with our Black Stars players, of course. This is the time that they can take advantage of all that they've done in the previous year to get that lucrative move that they want. And goalkeeper Fatau Dauda, well, he made us proud in South Africa 2013 with some stunning saves. He has since moved on to South Africa. But the big news for his local club, that's Ash Gold, is that he is going to be, the club is going to be earning 30% of onward transfer fees from any sale of this player. We're told that his new club in South Africa, Orlando Pirates, paid up to $800,000 for his services, and there's been a clause inserted in that contract that means that if the player is sold by Orlando Pirates to another club, up to 30% of that amount is going to be making its way into the coffers of Ash Gold. Smart move, if you ask me. And we're still staying with players who have a certain connection with the senior national team, the Black Stars. And this man, Richmond Boachiadom, was also a part of the team that made us proud in Turkey. Now, the news coming in from Italy is that Juventus, that is his club, he was only on loan at Sassuolo last season. Juventus have rejected a bid from Levante in the Spanish La Liga for the services of Richmond Boachiadom. The young man was pretty impressive in Turkey, scoring 2 goals in as many games that he played for the national under-20 team. I'm not too sure why Antonio Conte wouldn't want to give this young man some playing time, because Juventus now do have in their fold Carlos Tevez. They also do have in their fold Fernando Llorente. They have Alexandro Matri. They have Fabian Quagliarella also in that team. So Juventus with a lot of striking options going into season 2013-2014. Richmond Boachiadom might just have to find his way to another club if he wants to get some playing time with the club. We're staying in Italy because one young man who made his debut with the national team at CAN 2012 in Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, he's not really been in the reckoning for a place in the senior national team, but he is making a move from Novara to Cesena, and that is Masaudu Alassane. He is owned by Udinese. He played on loan at Novara last season, and the club have loaned him out again to Cesena for season 2013, season 2014. It's all about getting game time for some of these players. If they stay with their clubs, they only end up on the bench. And if he's going to go get an opportunity to go to another club and be playing constantly and regularly, maybe, just maybe, he could still break into the national team someday. We're still staying in Italy because that same club, Cesena, have acquired the services of a young Ghanaian player by name Ephraim O'Neal. Not a very familiar name as far as football is concerned, but in recent times, a lot of young Ghanaian potentials have been making their way to Italy to play for some of these second-tier clubs. So many of them in recent times are Alfred Duncan, who plays for Livorno, Isaac Kofi playing for Sassuolo, Richmond Boachiadom also playing for Sassuolo last season. Many of these youngsters making their way to Italy these days, and this is the latest addition to that team, Ephraim O'Neal. He is going to be playing for Serie B side Cesena after completing a move from lower tier side Bellaria Igea. We wish him all the best on his move. We are not done with transfers yet. Now, you remember that young kid, Seydou Salifu, who played in front of the back four as far as Turkey 2013 is concerned for the national under-20 team, the Black Satellites? Well, he was always in that number 8 shirt. That's the young man on your screen, Seydou Salifu. Now, word coming in from Turkey is that one of the biggest clubs in Istanbul, Besiktas, have officially requested for the services of the Black Satellites midfielder. Seydou had a stunning season with WA All Stars, and he was in brilliant form, if you ask me, at Turkey 2013. And he has gotten the attention of Turkish side Besiktas Gymnastic Kulübü. Well, that is in Turkish. And you would forgive me for that. Well, is that deal going to materialize? Well, we hope it does. And from one satellites player to another satellites player, this time around we're looking at Frank Echampong. Well, he sealed a deal with Anderlecht before this championship. He was with the youth side. He is going to be playing for the senior side come next season. And he's eyeing a superb season with Anderlecht, one of the biggest clubs in the Belgium Jupiler League. Always in tough competition with the likes of Club Brugge, Racing Genk, Standard Liège and co. And he's already looking forward to season 2013, season 2014. From Frank Echampong, we move on to Daniel Papu. Now, I'm sure this name rings a bell to you because this young man almost made the cut for the national under-20 team on their way to Turkey. Dropped at the very last minute as a result of injury concerns, and he couldn't make that team. Daniel Papu has signed for Colchester from Chelsea. He was with the Chelsea junior team. Daniel Papu has now moved on loan to Colchester, and again, it's all about getting playing time. Daniel Papu, if he stays in Chelsea, the chances of he playing for Jose Mourinho with all the caliber of defenders at the club, David Luiz, Ivanovic, John Terry, and co, he stands little or no chance. Gary Cahill, you can add him if you like. He stands little or no chance in playing for the Blues, and he is choosing the wisest option, that is to make a loan move to Colchester. That would get him to be playing a lot more, and maybe in the future he could get to play for the Blues. Away from the players, you remember that name Otuado? Otuado used to play for the senior national team in the early 2000s. He has since retired. But the good news, and this I'm very happy to hear and announce, the good news is that he has been named as the under-19 coach of Hamburg Football Club. Otuado played majority of his career in the German Bundesliga for the likes of Borussia Dortmund and co, playing for the senior national team, I recall, in CAN 2000 here in Ghana. 38 years old now, and he has made a transition from a footballer to a coach, and would love to see a lot more of our Ghanaian players make the transition from being footballers to being managers. Let's come home now and do some bits on local football, because Accra Hearts of Oak, they have been in action. Now, they played Mamelodi Sundowns here in Accra on Wednesday. Mamelodi Sundowns are in Ghana as part of their pre-season. They are going to be playing Accra Hearts of Oak. They played Accra Hearts of Oak on Wednesday. They are playing Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and then they will be playing Ebusia Dwarfs. Cameras were at the Accra Sports Stadium on Wednesday, and we bring you highlights and, of course, the post-match press conference of this game. So that was the game involving Accra Hearts of Oak and Mamelodi Sundowns. They call themselves the Brazilians by virtue of their colours. Sundowns are playing in the blue and yellow outfits. Accra Hearts of Oak playing in their all-white outfit with a white hose. The Phobians, you have to say, were in very poor form, and it's understandable that they played this poorly because Coach Ben Ajay did say after the game that the players had a broken camp and only resumed for a few training sessions before they went into this game, and that was why the team did play that poorly. And this was the equalizer that the Phobians got right at the end after Sundowns had scored through surprise Moriri. Romeo Agban scoring with virtually the last kick of the game to give the Phobians a draw after 90 minutes of action. Let's pick up the press conference.
Also, it's also important to judge our performance and judge our capacity with the powerhouse of Accra, and slowly we understand where we are, but we are not yet ready. It's the first time we play a friendly game. Yes, we struggled a little bit because Hearts is match fitness. They just finished the President Cup. We are just coming up, but I think we gave a good account of ourselves. At the end, we played the football that we always play, of our short passing and movement, and it came out well. This is our style. We play like that all the time. But we are happy with the results. 1-1 to us, it's okay. It's fair because we played a very good team that we really, really respect.
If you could bear with me, we just finished with our league and we're 2 weeks away without training. And when this match is coming on, then we need to rally the boys around, and then we have 5 days training. And then if you could see, Sundowns have a good team when we're talking about quality, strength, stamina, what have you. Anything that requires of a good team, they have it. But we're also very happy to play them because we always want to play football. So when we have a team that play football, we are happy to meet them. So I would say I will congratulate them in the first place. And then our boys also, we did not disgrace ourselves at all, because if you see coming 2 weeks without training, meeting a good side like Sundowns, then I would say the boys did well, and we congratulate them also.
So those were the coaches of the two teams, Mamelodi Sundowns boss Pitso Mosimani, former Bafana international and boss, and Accra Hearts of Oak assistant coach Ben Ajay sitting in for his boss David Duncan, who was on training in Pram. We still stay on the local scene, and this time around to the camp of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and for fans of the club are not really knowing the direction of the club as far as the coaching the situation is concerned. Word coming through from the corridors of power is that coach Masoud Didi Dramani is close to announcing his exit from the club. I mean, there's a coach who won the league in his debut season with the club, but word is that the club are looking at replacing him for what reasons that we still not very sure about. He, for me, has really impressed this season. Maybe what may go against the boss is the fact that he couldn't do the double, and the club could also not perform that creditably in Africa, and that just maybe seems to have cost Coach Masoud Didi Dramani his job. Now, sources close to the coach have told us that he is also considering staying on as a measure to be compensated in case that he is fired for breach of contract. Now, Kotoko are rumored to be interested in signing Spanish ex-Royal Tamale United trainer Roberto Carlos, even though officials have not confirmed the growing reports. And to that story of Kotoko, looking forward to hiring a new trainer. Now, Executive Chairman of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Dr. KK Sapon, has revealed that the club would soon appoint a foreign coach to take charge as the club revamp its technical team in the next few days. Now, Dr. KK Sapon's statements on Kumasi-based Metro FM indicates that the club's technical team structure would have a technical director and a first team coach, amongst others, to complete the team. Now, asked if he's not dictating to the club's current trainer Masoud Didi Dramani, who is a UEFA License A holder and a technical director of the Ghana Football Association, the Kotoko chief quickly remarked, Didi doesn't have to decide the way the club should go. Now, Dr. Sapon's remarks may be seen as a way of unsettling Coach Dramani to resign, but the Kotoko chairman has refuted such notions. Well, we're still not very clear as to why all this is happening. Well, I'm glad to announce that a member of the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Communications Directorate, Jerome Ochri, is on the line to keep us up to speed with all these latest happenings in the camp of the Porcupine Warriors. Jerome, good morning.
Good morning, Kwame, and how is it?
We thank God for grace. Now, Jerome, there are quite a lot of stories surrounding your club at the moment, especially to do with the technical direction of the club. But before we do that, yesterday there was a meeting with Dwomoh, I am told. What exactly happened there?
Well, nothing extraordinary, even though you would want to admit that going to Malaysia is always a good thing or a great thing. And it was just a presentation of the two trophies Protocol won this season to the owner and life patron of the club. As you know, we won the Champion of Champions trophy in September last year, as well as the league title. And so it was a moment of presentation to the owner of the club. And as expected, he congratulated the club for that achievement and also spoke on a few important things like making sure that a good team is built, and also the youth team is also given the needed attention. He also used the opportunity to advise the executive chairman to be more tolerant of dissenting opinions and ensure that Protocol conquer Africa, because he wasn't too impressed with the performance of the team in Africa this year.
So for you, it was just a mere formality meeting, Nana?
Well, because it's more or less a seasonal occurrence, it could be right, or it would be right to describe it as a mere formality. But looking at Malaysia and what it means in the affairs of Protocol, then you can say it was one of those great days in the life of Asante Kotoko.
Jerome, let's move away from the meeting with Nana and look at other stories that are supposedly making the rounds concerning the technical direction of your club. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but you are with the club, you work with the club. What exactly is happening?
Well, I think nothing much. I mean, as you know, at the end of every season, you would want to take stock of what has happened, and also in going forward, what you can do to ensure that you improve on whatever you've achieved. And that is exactly what we are doing. We are looking at changing things so as to ensure progress. What I know is that the executive chairman has made it clear that there will be some changes in the technical team, and even in the entire structure of Asante Kotoko. And so it is not as if there's going to be some major shake-up where, like we always say, heads are going to roll for one or two reasons. It's just an administrative measure to ensure that what we want to achieve in the coming season would definitely be achieved.
Jerome, it doesn't look like Coach Didi Dramani has done enough to stay in his position, does he?
Well, speaking to supporters of the club, that's the impression you get. But I'm sure that if you are to also look at those who are in support of him, they will tell you that he has done a lot. From where I sit, I think that his performance has been fairly good. I mean, if one of the targets this season was to win the league title or was to defend the title, and we did exactly that, you definitely cannot take away that from the coach who ensured that achievement. And I think that on that platform, Didi really did well. But there are other factors or there are other things that we have to look at. And if we are looking at those things, you definitely will have questions to ask him. I mean, the performance of the team really wasn't the best compared to last season. But even then, he will tell you that there were factors that accounted for that, and you can't blame him for those things. I think all we have to do is to do a fair analysis of the coach's performance vis-a-vis what we wanted to achieve and where we want to go. And if at the end of the day we think that it will not be helpful or it wouldn't be up to the task, then it will only be nice and appropriate to let him go.
Jerome, finally, this issue of a technical director and a first team head coach, it's been tried a few times by some clubs in Ghana, and you have to say that it's failed to work for most of these clubs. Why would you want to tinker with your coaching structure when there's history to some of these appointments?
Well, that is what has been put out. But as to whether that is exactly what will happen is another thing. I have a feeling that it will be important for us to wait and see whether indeed there will be a technical director as well as head team coach. I am not sure of the arrangements, but I know that there will be changes in the technical team. And so I would suggest that we wait. Those changes will be made anytime soon, and definitely we will know whether there will be a technical director and a coach, or there will be a head coach who will be directing the affairs of the club technically. I want to agree with you that it might look a bit awkward having a technical director as well as a coach of the senior team. I'm not too sure if that would be helpful, but as I said, we are all speculating. It's important for us to wait and see exactly what the leadership of the club will be doing, and I am certain that whatever will be done will serve the interest of the club.
Jerome, it's always a pleasure speaking to you.
All right.
Jerome Ochre is a member of the Communications Directorate of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, keeping us up to speed with the latest happenings in the club. Well, it's clear that we might have to wait for some time to know whether Coach Dramani is going to be in charge of season 2013, season 2014, or whether a new technical director is going to be coming down to take charge of the club. We're still staying in Ghana, and the club licensing finally is here in Ghana. Now, delegates have hailed the continuing push to have a more professional system of licensing club operations in Ghana as a crucial series of training models near an end. Now, in 2009, the Ghana Football Association started courses to institute a club licensing system to improve the quality of personnel that manage clubs in this country. Now, 4 years down the line, much has not changed. But on Monday, football administrators have again followed the signing of a Pram declaration put in place last year to make sure that, among other things, only licensed A coaches would hold positions on benches in the next Global Premier League season. Now, the club licensing regulations are the basic working documents for member associations that incorporate the minimum requirements and guidelines for every criteria for compliance as a basis for the issuance of a license to any club. Now, the cost will last till today at the Ghana FA's Technical Directorate at the Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram near the Greater Accra region, the Ghana's capital. Well, that course is going to be coming to an end later today. Hopefully, we will be speaking to the Technical Director of the Ghana Football Association, Oti Akenteng, on some of these developments and, of course, how the coaching course is going. But before we do that, though, the FA Cup team have announced that awards for this year's competition is going to be set for May the 31st. Now, the 2013 MTN FA Cup Awards, where top performers in the just-ended competition will be decorated with the prizes, has been set for August the 31st. Now, this season's awards are expected to be held at the Banquet Hall of the State House in Accra. Now, nominees for the various award categories will soon be revealed. To contest the Most Valuable Player Award, which was won last year by New Dibiase's Moro Ibrahim. Now, other awards which candidates will vie for include the Coach of the Tournament, the Goal of the Tournament, Discovery of the Tournament, Defender of the Tournament, Goalkeeper of the Tournament, and Top Scorer of the Tournament. Now, Mediama claimed their first major trophy in their 3-year history when Theophilus Anoba volleyed home a goal that won the MTN FA Cup final against Kumasi Asante Kotoko last Monday. Sad news for me. And we're moving on. And there's a bit of a interesting story that is developing in the last couple of days. Word is that the Synagogue Church of Nations, the Synagogue Church of All Nations, which is headed by known man of God T.B. Joshua, would take over Wasserman Football Club. That's the word coming through from Wasserman Football Club. Now, Ghanaian football administrator Moses Parker has confirmed that the takeover of Division 1 side, Wasserman FC, by the General Overseer of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, Prophet Temi Tope Balogun Joshua. Now, the Mediama president, who owns majority shares in Wasserman, has confirmed the takeover could be completed by the close of the week after meeting with the renowned Nigerian prophet. Now, this is the second time TV Joshua has attempted to get a stake in Ghana football, but in his first instance, an attempt to set up a second division side fell short. Now, the Squad Overseer is widely known as a seer who sees into the future with that time. Oh, is this going to happen, or is this going to be one of the stories that we just get to hear sometimes? A man of God getting into football issues, and there's a brilliant article by Ni Aite Tete in the 90 minutes concerning football and God, and whether God is interested in football at all. Grab a copy of the 90 minutes. It's on page 2 of the paper, and you get to read the story. I mean, where is the connection? Every footballer goes to the pitch, and before they go into action, you see them praying and reciting a few things. Is God really interested in what happens on the pitch? I don't know, but maybe you can tell me. Now, do you remember the name Joe Latte? Growing up as a little kid, tuning into GBC radio, you would hear that name, Joe Latte, doing his own commentary. These days, the 86-year-old man is retired. He is taking it easy, and my producer just did remind me that anytime you head over to you, you know that we're talking about Joe Latte. Well, he was in the studios of Joy FM yesterday, and we caught up with him, and he had some interesting things to share with us. Let's listen to that man, Joe Latte.
I used to entertain the whole school with things that I had committed to memory, like the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. I learned the whole thing off by heart from one of his English readers. You know,
you can still do that for us on radio.
I can't remember a lot of that. It's quite distant, but there are other things I remember. I learned what is it? Abraham Lincoln made a speech 7 years ago. This was when I was 10 years old. My senior brother taught me this thing. And I can still remember, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here give their lives that this nation might live. I can stop here. I can go on and on to the end. You know, these are some of the things. And I committed memories. 10. I learned that. Let me tell you the other thing. I attended school in Tamale. My father was transferred to Tamale around 1935-36. And I entered Tamale Middle Boarding School at a place called Baga Baga. People know it. I was at Baga Baga. It was a boarding school, but I've told you already that my father was very much in love with me. So he didn't want me to attend the boarding school. He said he didn't like the food. Today, TZ is what? Yeah. It's a special, a delicacy. In those days, it wasn't. You know, the British did things that we looked down on food from the north. You know, and my dad was in that frame of mind. And so what happened? I was taken out of a boarding school. I was the only day scholar. And he hired somebody called Bauer. At our Bauer. Bauer used to carry me on his bike and ride me 4 miles from Tamale to Baga Baga to attend school. In the evening, my father would ride his bicycle to the school and pick me back to the house. And it went on and on and on like that. And life at Baga Baga was great. I learned to mix, to be a good mixer. It's still with me. It's a quality that I still carry with me. So it was interesting. Then when I came back from Baga Baga, that was when I went to the government senior boys school, then Accra Academy, and then from Accra Academy, I went into teaching. You know,
Let's stay with Accra Academy.
Yeah.
Did you have almost nights back then?
Yes, we had those nights, and I was, reciting some of these things that I had learned off by heart. You see, and then Accra Academy was in Jamestown, right in the middle of Jamestown, in a big two-story edifice. And we used to go out to the beach to watch the fishermen at work. And sometimes we managed to make away with some of the fish they had caught. And it was so exciting. We had teachers who were funny. There was one Oforiado, I remember. There was one teacher, Brown. There was teacher Ankra, who was teaching religious studies, and so on. And it was very family knitted, closely knitted society. Everybody was part of a school, and all of us were very happy. The sporting events were vigorous.
Active?
Oh, I wasn't very active in sport. My father wouldn't like me to do sport. As a matter of fact, when I was at Accra Government Boys School, he came to see the headmaster. I was in the band, and I was cashiered from the band because he said the child of a leader of the Methodist Church should not play side drum. So I was taken out,
Really?
and I wasn't allowed to do sport. So when I started doing commentary, my father called me once. He sent for me, and he asked whether I was the chap who was making all the noise on Sunday afternoons on radio. And I said, yeah. He said, but who taught you to play football? Well, I learned a bit of footballing when I was in the Navy. And then he said, the way you talk on radio, the speed at which you talk, if you are not careful, you're going to suffer a heart attack. You'll be, things like that, So it was enjoyable at Accra Academy. We were very friendly with one another. We had nicknames for...
What was your nickname back then?
My nickname was Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus?
Columbus, yeah, because I was always in love with Columbus, the discovery of America, and I was reciting this. I've forgotten it. Abule became Columbus. Abule was crowned Columbus, yeah.
That was good old Joe Latte. We'll be bringing you that concluding bit of that interview with Bulari on the personality profile on Joy FM's Drive show. Hopefully later on the day on Football Show. We're moving on. We did promise that we're going to be getting to speak to the technical director of the Ghana Football Association, Otia Kenten, on the latest pram. As and when we do get through to him, we'll be bringing you that exclusive interview. We're moving on from football, and this time we're going to be doing some bets on hockey, because the hockey team need up to $138,000 to participate in the World Cup in Germany later this year. That's the female hockey team. Now, the Minister of Youth and Sport, Elvis Afri Ankra, met with the team a couple of days ago to reassure them of government support as far as this competition is concerned. Let's have a look at the Minister's visit to see the team.
Germany, how soon?
Next week.
Next week. And you know that for every sport, motivation is very, very important. And I'm told that this is the first time that the under-21 female hockey team has qualified to play in the Junior World Cup. Is it true? And so, first of all, let me congratulate you for your qualification, the hard work, efforts, and energy that you've put in to bring you to this stage, to the first level, for the very first time. That alone is a great achievement. And I want you to know that that same hard work and effort is what will take you to the next level. You remember that some time ago, Ghana under 20 in football, they were not very well known. But a group came up and they decided that enough is enough, and they were going to make the country proud. They left Ghana. They are just like your brothers. They went, nobody gave them any hope, but they brought the trophy home. When I look at your faces and I look at how far you've come, I have every confidence in you that when you go to Germany, you will perform and lift the flag of Ghana high. So I want to encourage you. The government will give you every support that you require. You have a very good association with very good leadership, and our prayers are behind you, but you need to put in extra hard work. The difference between whoever is going to emerge at the top and the rest is that whoever emerges at the top puts in extra effort. It is always the extra effort that determines the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary. So if you want to go and perform and bring medals and honor to this country, then the few days that are left, put in extraordinary effort and you will get extraordinary results.
Government showing his support for this project, this World Cup projects that we've been provided with a turf. We have a hostel to accommodate us. But I must admit the fact that for feeding hasn't been the best. We have struggled to cater for ourselves and for a team preparing for World Cup. It's a bit on the bad side. We are not motivated, but I believe the minister has been here to see what we've done and how we've trained till today. We've gotten to a level where we believe that we can make an impact. So if he has seen it and he's recognized that and is all ready to motivate us, we will accept that all bad things is past. We have done. We are moving forward in spite of all the challenges. We've still been training, and so we are continuing to get to to play in the tournament. I always say that the Ghanaian is such that yes, we have something which is special. If you look, I always use football as an example. We have done it before, even in hockey. The boys last about 3 years conquered Africa without just when this pitch was constructed. And it just took us only about a year to get used to the turf, go into Africa and conquer Africa. They went to the World Cup, and in rankings we didn't have the same ranking. They managed to place fifth. So it's also a very good motivating factor for our ladies.
They are highly motivated to represent the Women World Cup out there, and I think we've had a lot of training that when we go there, we are going to lift the flag of Ghana high and also lift the women ranking very high. And I think you are going to also help us with a lot of motivation and then financial means so that we can be able to go there and then lift the flag of Ghana high. That's what you are showing.
Well, I'm just trying my own bit of drama in the studio. These ladies are pumped up for the competition, which will be played in Germany from July the 27th to August 4th. And now that the minister has been there, I'm sure that $138,000 is going to be raised for them to go and compete. And one sporting family who is having issues with funding to another. It's just sad that, aside football, almost every other sporting discipline seems to be having problems with funding. Now, Ghana faces possible sanctions from the international swimming body if it fails to participate in the 2013 World Championship in Barcelona. Now, due to financial constraints, the national team rescheduled their departure and would have no option than to pull out if no last-minute intervention is made. Now, the competition will begin on July the 25th and requires all competitors to be in Barcelona by July the 18th. Now, as the situation stands, the Ghana team would leave the country early Friday, July 19th. Now, the chairman of the Ghana Swimming Association, Theophilus Wilson Izzy, says it will be disappointing if the swimmers who have sacrificed resources to make it to Barcelona miss out. And as we speak, we're still not very certain as to whether the association has been able to raise the money. We are told they need only $27,000. Only $27,000. And someone is whispering to me now that is the winning bonus of just 2 Black Stars players, I think, for just one game, 90 minutes. These swimmers are going to be in Barcelona for up to 2 weeks, and we can't find $27,000 for them. If you ask me, it's so sad. I will be going for a round of commercials at this point, and then when we come back, we do some bets on the continent. You stick and stay tuned to Joy Sports on Multi TV. Well, we might just end up knocking you out on the show. Let's move over to the continent now and do some stories making the news in here. And Stephen Keshi, the coach of the Super Eagles team, is in the mix now. Where is that? He's going to be able to recall strikers Emmanuel Emenike and Shola Amiobi. These two players have been unavailable for selection in recent times, but the manager is delighted to have the players back as they prepare for crucial World Cup qualifier at home to Malawi in September. Now, the Super Eagles must avoid defeat at home if they are to secure final playoff spot for next year's tournament in Brazil. And already coach Keshi has released a squad for this game, but of course of interest to us will be the forwards he's called for the game. Ahmed Musa from CSKA Moscow is in the team. Brian Day from Dynamo Kiev in Ukraine. Shola Amiobi from Newcastle United. Emmanuel Emenike from Spartak Moscow in Russia. Obina Insofo from Lokomotiv Moscow in Russia. And Yuche Inwofo from VVV Venlo in Holland. Well, all these players are available for coach Stephen Keshi to choose from. We're still staying with Nigeria, and Nigerian coach Stephen Keshi has confirmed that Joseph Yobo is still the Super Eagles team captain, even though he's been left out of the national team setup since Nigeria won the African Cup of Nations in February. Now, says Keshi, it would not be fair to invite Yobo to the national team and ask him to be on the bench. It would be a huge disgrace, and I won't be part of that. When the team needs him, he will be recalled and will definitely start as captain, even if along the line we substitute him, Keshi is quoted to have said. He then underlined the conditions for Yobo to make a return to the team. Now, says the coach again, for the captain of the team, he has to work extra hard to remain so, because he's the leader of the team. And that has been the philosophy of the team since we took over, because that was the way we were brought up to captain the national teams. So the coach issuing out a clear warning to Joseph Yobo: if he wants to be a part of the national team setup, you've got to play. You've got to play. Well, he's playing for his club in Fenerbahce in Turkey. And as and when he performs, he's going to get a call back into the national team. And we're still staying with the news on the continent. And this time we're moving over to Cameroon. Now, what is happening there? Now, Cameroonian club Cotton Sport Garua won't be allowed to play in the African Champions League this weekend because the country's football federation is still suspended. For government interference. Now, Cotton Sports ineligibility adds to the complications surrounding Africa's top club competition with rivals Zamalek and Ali, the defending champions, without a venue for their clash later this week. But FIFA said that it was in contact with the various parties in Cameroon, but conditions had not been met for the suspension to be lifted after the country was banned on July the 14th. So Cotton Sport Garua, if they don't sort out their issues by close of today, unfortunately they cannot play in the CAF Champions League. And still staying with the CAF Champions League, and this time around we're looking at the two Egyptian giants, Zamalek and El Ali. Now, the rival Egyptian clubs will play their rearranged and relocated Champions League tie on Wednesday, the 24th of July. Now, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has confirmed that the new date for the Group A match, which is part of the opening round of fixtures for the competition in the new season. Now, the game will be played at 14:30 GMT because the stadium does not have adequate floodlights. This will make the hot daytime conditions even more difficult for those Muslim players who were fasting throughout the period of Ramadan. Now, on Monday, it was confirmed that the EFA's request to switch the venue has been agreed by CAF. Now, the two biggest clubs do play their football at the Cairo International Stadium that holds up to 30,000 fans. And when these two clubs are in action in Cairo, you have to be there. It's the Rats versus the Lily Whites of Zamalek, and these two countries have a big history as far as football on the continent is concerned. We're still staying on the continent, and this time around we're looking at the South Africa 2010 and the issues that emanated out of that. Now, a hearing into shameful collusion by construction companies that led to bid rigging and price fixing on the 2010 World Cup projects opened on Wednesday, tarnishing the legacy of South Africa's historic tournament that was initially praised as a glowing success. Now, a tribunal is being asked to confirm fines totaling 1.46 billion rand. That's up to about 147 million US dollars for 15 companies which agreed to rigged projects in the general construction industry in South Africa between 2006 and 2011. Now, work on World Cup stadiums is included in the findings by the Competition Commission, which revealed wrongdoing by the country's biggest building firms. Now, a lawyer representing the commission said there was a shameful pattern of collusion by the companies, leading to inflated prices on projects like the 730 million Cape Town Stadium. And that's the stadium you're currently seeing on your screen. That stadium, we are told, cost up to 730 million US dollars to be built. I reserve my comments on this one. We're still staying on the continent, though, and it's COSAFA Cup final time. And who has made it to the final? It is Zambia, who will be taking on Zimbabwe. Now, holder Zambia and host Zambia, and holder Zimbabwe have made it through to the COSAFA Cup final after winning their semi-final games against South Africa and Lesotho, respectively. Now, Zambia went through on penalties after a goalless draw with Bafana. The 2012 African champions converted all 5 of their spot kicks, with a decisive penalty netted by captain and centre-back Bronson Chama. South Africa's Lerato Shabangu was the unfortunate player to miss his shot parried away by Danny Munyao. Now, Bafana will reflect on 2 chances in the second half where they rattled the woodwork. First, when the ball cannoned on to the upright from a corner, and Ruziak Gamaldien failed to tap in the rebound. And then when substitute Chabangu hit the post in the 81st minute. Now, Chipolopolo's victory sets up a final in the mining city of Ndola this weekend. That would be a repeat of the last one in 2009 after Zimbabwe fought back to beat Lesotho by 2-1. Now, one player has been in the news this weekend for what a lot of people say are religious connotations. Papis Demba Cisse is the name. Now, what is the news with this player? Now, the player has pulled out of Newcastle's pre-season tour to Portugal after refusing to wear the club sponsor Wonga's logo on religious grounds. Now, the Senegal striker, a Muslim, told club officials he was not prepared to promote the money lending company. But the 28-year-old did offer to wear an unbranded shirt or one bearing a charity logo instead. It leaves Cisse's future in doubt, with sources describing the relationship between the parties as strained. Now, Cisse's Newcastle teammates Sheikh Tiote and Musa Sissoko are also Muslim, but they have told the club that they have no issue with wearing the sponsor's logo. The player joined the Magpies in January 2012 and has scored 26 times in all competitions. Well, this row reminds me of what happened in 2006. It was when Frederick Kanuti decided not to wear a shirt of his then club Sevilla, whose the club was being sponsored by a betting company, and according to his religious beliefs, that wasn't allowed. He was allowed to play for the club without the 888.com tag on his jersey. And, well, unfortunately, this time around, it looks like these issues are struggling to be sorted out. And on that golfing note, we draw the curtains on this morning's edition of Sports Today. Thanks for making Joy Sports your channel for this morning over the last 94 minutes. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the entire production crew for making this possible. You do stay with this channel if you can for all the sports stories and games. And of course, later this evening, my colleague George Ado would also be in here with the football show. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.